It's your aunties, your favorite aunties. We are your aunties. You can tell us anything, but there's a way to say everything. And tonight we have a very powerful topic, and we're going to take you by the hand and lead you through. But before we do that, I would like for you to know that my name is Paige Means Hopper. I am the founder of Healing the Wounds of American Slavery Movement and also the author of the book of the same title, Healing the Wounds of American Slavery. But I have some very special people with me tonight. And so I'm going to give them an opportunity to each introduce themselves. Hi, y'all. We see the hellos. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So, Auntie Genoa, why don't you say hello to the people?
Hey, good evening. This is your Auntie Genoa. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I am an auntie. I am a cousin. I am a sister, and I am a friend. And hopefully, the things that we share with you tonight will bless you.
Anyone else can go.
Hi, my name is Rosemarie Smith Coleman. I am called Auntie Rose. I am an artist, child of God, of course. That's first. I am a giving person, of giving of myself. I am a wife, a director, producer, executive producer. There's a lot of things with me, but I'm very humble about it, and I'm willing to give of myself, definitely.
I really love you. So glad you could be here tonight. And Auntie Wanda flying fresh in from the East Coast just for you and me.
Fresh in from the East Coast where it's 10 o'clock. I am Wanda Lee Florstein, and I'm many things. Today I'm just going to be Auntie Wanda, and my new auntie nickname by my great nieces and nephews. They called me Auntie Rules while I was visiting Michigan because I had so many rules for them.
Auntie Rules. Wow. Auntie Guideline.
When is she going to go home? She has too many rules.
Hi. Hello. So listen, we are going to give you something very special this evening. We know that the holidays are upon us, right? And we know that a lot of times, for some people, that means they're going to have an amazing time. They're going to see family, friends, going to eat well, sleep in a warm bed, have everything that they need and some things that they want. And some people have absolutely everything that they want. There'll be others, though, who aren't as fortunate. So they won't even have a meal. They won't have a bed to sleep in. They won't have a home. They won't have friends and family to go to. And even though, we're on different ends of this spectrum, there are those in the middle who may have friends and family, may have all the things, but still they struggle with depression and what people call the winter blues. No, it's not just the blues. Depression is something totally different. And so I'm going to do a little bit of reading from the book, and then we'll go I'll throw it to the aunties. And anytime you have a question, comment, or anything that you want to bring to the conversation, please feel free to do that. And we would love to have you join in and be able to answer any of your questions or just respond to your concerns, whatever's going on with you. Okay? So I'm going to go to page 147 in the book right now. And it talks literally about depression. As a matter of fact, the title of this chapter is Depression. But again, remember that the way that I wrote the book is kind of in stair steps or in puzzle pieces. And so there's one main piece, which in this case is mental illness, right? Because depression is a mental illness. But along with that comes worry, right? And also nervousness and hypervigilance. There are a lot of things that come with it. We'll go more into depth. But right now, I'm just going to read specifically about depression. Have you ever felt like darkness is just resting on top of your head, leaning on your brain, leaching misery into your soul? Like your spirit is crushed under the weight of despair. Like you're sitting at the bottom of a dark pit, unable to move. Like you're feeling like the my baby left me, my dog died, and I lost my job and got evicted in the same day blues. There's no way to prepare for it. It kicks you while you're down and sends you to bed. You pull your covers high around your neck, over your head, and you lie there, helpless, like you're dead. What can you do from this position? Nothing. You stop caring as much or as deeply for those around you, and things begin to unravel. You miss school, so you begin to fall behind. You miss important medical appointments, so your health deteriorates, which sends you into a downward spiral. You stop socializing, which means you're out of touch with others. So you're reduced to having circular conversations in your own head, none of which are very positive. Whether you work for somebody or you own your own business, your life suffers. You earn less revenue, which means you miss paying your bills, and now your creditors are all over you. By the end of this life dismantling process, you can't take care of yourself, your family, or your life. But our ancestors did not have the luxury of taking any days off. So they suffered in silence, working during extremely hard labor, pushing through their emotional pain with no relief. They pressed it down, they swallowed it, and unwittingly passed it along through their DNA to us as depression. So we said, well, I said, and I think the ladies will agree with me, or maybe you won't, and we should have that conversation no matter how this goes. What I said is that depression is more than just the blues, right? Because the blues can last for 2 seconds because something didn't go right for you. And so you just have a bad attitude or you just feel bad about it, just feel horrible. But depression comes with a whole set of other emotions. And it can last from 1 minute to 10 years to 25 years. It can be extreme depression where it literally feels like where it feels like what I just said. Or it could feel like what I just read, or it could feel like a very low level kind of a emotion where it's there and you're stopped and you're kind of blocked from going forward, but you're just not sure why. So it can be very deceptive and it can be very subtle. So along with depression, right? It feels like I explained in the book, heaviness. It feels like darkness. It feels like being stuck. Um, and so it could bring about a lot of discouragement. Can you all hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me, Genoa?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Rose? Okay, great. So I'm just going to pass the mic to someone else at this point and ask you ladies if you relate to what I'm talking about. Have you ever been through something like this? And then I will definitely share something that occurred with me that, when I went through a deep depression. So, who would like to go first?
I'll go. um, the thing is, when you reach, I was going through because when you're growing up, you're the oldest, and you have certain expectations that's over you from your elders and everything. And sometimes you feel like, okay, I didn't do this thing, and I don't have the support and the things that I was expecting from those that was pushing me forward. And you know how, oh, by 20 I want to have this done, and about time I'm 25 I want to be here, and when I turn 40 I want to be here and have this, that, and the other. And a lot of times I've started over so many times, and at some point I had even told God, I said, if this is all you got, you can take me up.
Wow. Wow.
And I had little kids and everything. But it 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 takes keeping reaching out and staying connected to God, because living ain't for no punks. Anybody can leave from here, but it takes some fortitude and all kinds of stuff to slug it out and live.
It does. It does. Anybody have anything else to add to that?
I would go. Um, and I don't know what the giggle was. Maybe that was nervous energy, but I it's interesting. So I'm not speaking from the clinical sense, because I'm not trained to be a clinical therapist to
Right.
advise on depression. Just how I've managed my life through trying times and severe trying times, including the loss of loved ones. It's like I had mentioned, I think in the first taping page, that I had a series of deaths before the age of 30 in my family, including my mother and father, an older brother, two nephews, a niece. I mean, the list just goes on. I've experienced every kind of death in our family, from disease and aging, to murder, to suicide, to abortion, to have friends. What's the word? Spontaneous abortion. Excuse me.
Mhm.
And then also I've lost someone from disease, and it's very, very difficult. It's a hard pain, and it hits you at different times of the year, and it's also very cyclical. It's like you think you've gotten to a certain point, and then you smell something, or you see a piece of clothing, or you hear a song, or you see you see different things that remind you of that loved one, so, and then it can trigger that same sense of loss that you had initially when you first learned of it. And so one of the things that has worked for me in my life is to compartmentalize. And honestly, I've had to. When you lose a child, that you're anticipating through spontaneous abortion, and you still have to go to work, it can be challenging to say the least, especially when those coworkers think you're pretending.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And so it's helpful for me to compartmentalize it. And what I mean by that is, I'll tell myself, you're hurting, you're really hurting right now, and God knows that you're hurting, and you can express that pain, but you're going to do it for an hour, and then you're going to go back to work. And that sounds hard and cold, but honestly, that's the thing that has gotten me through, because the amount of trauma that has occurred and death and loss in my family, I know I'm the but God conversation, right? Because I should be in a fetal position, considering. But I've been able to rise above, and I have been able to find joy in aspects of life throughout these years. So I'm a testament to say that you don't have to live there. You can, and it will get better, as long as you have another chance to step into it and feel it for a minute, and then decide that, if you have the ability to decide that, and keep it moving, because it can put you under the covers, as you said, into that fetal position, and have you just feeling that life is horrible, but life is beautiful.
Yeah, I think that there are all those moments where, and without, okay, I'm going to be completely honest here. Well, which, guys, I always am. But what I have found with this work in particular, because we're not just talking about regular depression, and I love that you put that disclaimer on this. First of all, let's revisit that. None of us are professional psychologists here, psychiatrists. We're not professional medical workers by any stretch. However, what you're looking at is many years of experience and wisdom and things that, we've been through that can make a difference from somebody else just by hearing what we've been through. And so what I want to say on the heels of that is that this work that I do, that you do, that we do, we're looking at the historical context of what happened to our people, right, in enslavement. And then we're connecting the dots to our current day culture. And then by the end of the show, or maybe in part two, because there will be two parts to this coming into the holidays, um, we will look at, questions that we should ask ourselves to help us come out of depression and actions that we can take to begin that process. But what I've also found is that because the pain is so deep, and oftentimes we don't even know where the pain is coming from, especially if it is ancestral, right? If it is generational. What the tendency is for us to go into what I call a synthetic kumbaya.
Hmm.
Looking for the resolution. We're looking for the fix. And so, one of the things that Wanda said that I know is definitely um, held throughout our culture, right, is to compartmentalize. I mean, because what else could our ancestors have done?
Mhm.
They had to be in the field. They had to be at the beck and call of that culture and that construct. They had to do what they had to do in order to survive. And I wonder if we've taken on too much of that compartmentalization. I wonder, because then after the hour's over, after the day's over, after the week's over, after the month's over of all of this, taking a moment and then, diving in and then, okay, it has to be over now because I have to work. What do we do with that? What do, and I'm just being real, like, what do we do with that?
What do we? Wow.
Can I just say something?
Absolutely, please do.
You know what? I don't know if I was like depressed. Sorry. I don't even know that as a kid when my mother passed away because, a lot of things you don't understand.
Mhm.
She passed away when I was 10 years old. So you don't, at that level, I didn't understand a lot, but I know that I was, um,
Sad.
I don't even, not only just sad, it was like Auntie Wanda was saying, the reminders, because she died near Christmas.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mm.
Me, it was like you know, just cancel Christmas because I don't want to deal with Christmas because it was such a big reminder where everybody was happy and things were, it seemed like they was over happy, and I was like, really hurting inside Christmas on those holidays for many years. And so I don't know if I was depressed or not. I'm not sure, but I know that it took years for me to get over. You never get over your mother's death. I want to say you just learn to live, and
right,
you just
right.
learn to um, just keep moving. If you're a strong person. And I am a strong person. So,
Yes.
but I just learned to live with that feeling that I had that I can't describe as a kid, but as an adult, I don't want. It was sad, but it was something there, something missing in my heart, something a hole,
Mhm.
a void, if you will.
So what was your behavior? How were you? What were you feeling, and how were you behaving? I mean, I know you were sad. I know there was a hole in your heart, but what were the specific behaviors? Because I think that's one way that we can begin to pin it down, is
Yes,
to say exactly what we were feeling. And one of the viewers literally said, sometimes you don't even know that you're depressed.
yes.
And that's what I was talking about with that low level depression,
Mm,
or that functional depression where we
yes,
just kind of keep going. There isn't even a stopping, Auntie Wanda,
right.
to say, okay, and the strategizing,
Yes,
which is helpful.
yes,
I don't want to like put it just, I don't want to put debase that. It's helpful. But heaviness,
Mhm.
yes,
sadness,
yes,
melancholy, especially around the holidays or the person's birthday, or if it's a husband or wife or spouse, that person's um like Valentine's Day, what we did on vacation that year, and just the photos and all of that. And it's also looking at other people's happiness.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you said, everybody else was ultra happy, right? Just extra happy.
Right.
and
Right.
and here you are, a baby, just
Mhm.
absolutely despondent maybe.
But I
Sometimes
want to say,
despondency comes with that.
I want to say that I did hide the emotion. I remember
Mm,
now. I hid that. I would only cry in the tub or in the shower. And
mm,
then when I got out, I had to move. I had to keep it moving. So, but for years I did that, and so, but as I saw other people's relationships, as I, grew into myself and became an adult, then I realized, life is precious. You know, um, you know, get what you can get out of some of your friend, a family member. That's what I did. I chose to just get involved with really good friends, that I could really talk to. And I mean, that is the best thing. And then, I just stayed prayed up, and I
mhm.
listen to music, my favorite gospel songs, and I just basked in the memories. So that
Mhm.
was a few things that I did do.
That makes sense. And as for us, when we have loved ones who may be depressed, that's good that we're talking about this because we can talk about what it looks like. Because I think that's one of the things we talked about, airing dirty laundry, and when is it family business and when is it village business. Well, I think to break that whole trend of people suffering in silence, then it would behoove us to begin to look at our young people, not just our young people. Come on, it's the whole village, because this movement is intergenerational. That's part of the problem, is that we took on the oppressor, which is the construct of American slavery, right? We took on that system's way of looking at things. And from that perspective, there are generation gaps. Like, no, 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 that doesn't really exist. Yes, there are different phases that we go through in life that would cause one person to live differently than another according to their age. But generation gap implies that we can't reach one another. We can't communicate. And so, when we're looking for a child like Rose Marie, for example, when she was hiding in the tub or hiding her tears in the tub or in the shower, you know, her eyes had to be red when she came out. you know, that's and to ask the child, what's going on. I wanted to give a list of symptoms that I found to help us recognize it, and then I'll throw it back to y'all. So I already talked about the heaviness, the melancholy, the sadness. These are all things that we realize, right? But one of the big symptoms that most people don't see, especially when it's that undercurrent, that low level depression, is you just can't seem to move forward, no matter how hard you try, right? So that comes with despondency, despair. And a lot of people see that as, oh, this person's just lazy, or this person just doesn't want anything out of life. But depression does definitely come from a broken heart. So the brokenheartedness, being downcast, withdrawing. A lot of people withdraw, and if they're already introverts, then how would you know unless you reach in? You
Excuse
have
me.
to be able to reach in. Passivity, sleepiness, stoicism. And then one of the things too is, the drugs and the alcohol, right?
Mhm.
And other things that would really kind of anesthetize the pain. So, does anybody want to speak to that? Like any symptoms that you may have seen that you missed that, came back once somebody had done some damage to themselves or someone else or
Okay, well the thing is, what I'm finding is this a lot of apathy. What I see, apathetic. People, you're going through something. It's like, oh well, I might as well just run this thing out. And the thing is, when we see the depression, we gotta care that somebody's hurting. And and that's one of the things, because I know what I go through, and I am so sorry for all of you guys lost. I think I'm the only auntie on here that actually has both my parents. I have
Mhm.
both of them. My mother's 75 and my father is 78. And I had
Amen.
to deal with childhood stuff and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I am so, so blessed. And so I would call them just to check in, say I was thinking about you, I love you, and I have the opportunity of anything I didn't understand, or some I had some questions of, I can call them and ask them.
Yes.
I might not get the answer I want.
And
But
that's huge, Genoa. You know why that's huge? Because the last of my mother's sisters died a few months ago. And I found myself like, I have questions about the family, about, stuff. And I have no one, I have one last cousin, like the oldest cousin of ours, right? So she was the one sitting at the feet of all the aunties and uncles and grandmothers, and she has all the information. She's our historian. So I could call her, but that's a really good point, sis. That we just don't have the generation before us anymore. And it really doesn't matter how old you are because people are dying. They
yeah,
are. And it's interesting that, like I said, how we want to, rather than go through talking about what this is, getting at the roots of it, this is work. And
yes.
even I'm looking at the viewership. We had at least 4 people that started out with us. We're down to one. I get it. It's hard to talk about this stuff. But hopefully some people will come back on the replay and really get the gist of what it is that we're trying to relay and bring across. That's a really excellent point, and thank you for that. Yeah, because both of my parents are now gone. My dad died in 2018. My mom was already gone, from way back in the 80s. So, yeah,
And
that's a good point.
the thing I want to say is, if your parents are still living, I know that nobody's perfect. Everybody goes through stuff. My parents didn't wake up one day and say, "What can I do to ruin my child's life?" No, they didn't do that.
Right.
They were doing the best that they could. And then when I have my children, I was doing the best I could. And when they have their children, they're doing the best that they could. But the thing is, at the end of the day, love has to win, and you have to be willing to put in the work. Even just, I had a question just a couple of mornings ago, and I called my mother up, and she's like thanking me for calling her, but I was really persistent with this question. She's like, I don't think I'm gonna remember it. I said, I just started praying. I was like, I'm with you. The Holy Spirit gonna bring that answer up.
I need this information, right?
Yeah,
You will remember.
but the thing is you can't let old stuff, the stuff that's gone, it's never coming back, keep you from putting in the work and actually living. As I said when we first started, it takes a lot of courage to live. Anybody can leave from here, but it takes
Yeah.
a lot of courage to live. Living ain't for punks.
Yeah. I think about what's his name, who was he played Omar in The Wire. Michael K. Williams, isn't that his name? The actor with the scar on his face, and how he sat at a table. I think he was at his home and just overdosed, but he did it on purpose. At the end of the day, he OD'd on purpose. And I just look at someone whose life, that's what we look at. We look at someone's life. We think, oh, they have so much money, they have fame, they have popularity, they have people all around them who love them. And yet, there's something there that is stopping them from feeling love, like you said, love all around, but you can't even feel it. It kind of numbs you out. I wanted to read, go ahead.
Um, I
Oh, yeah,
wanted to
please.
say something. What you was talking about earlier. How did you feel? Um, I said I wasn't hiding it, so I had to be strong. I felt for my family, for my siblings, and I had to be strong. So it was hidden, but I was hiding. When I came out of the shower, my eyes were red, and I said, okay, "This is because I took a shower. I got soap in my eye." I mean, I had every excuse of, it was a little bit shame in there too, not having a mother, and that's from a child's point of view.
Perspective.
You know,
I can identify with that.
I was
You didn't feel safe
embarrassed,
to breathe.
I felt targeted, and on Mother's Day, it was like
Oh,
I had to wear the white flower. It's like, why?
yeah.
So, and it's nothing where it was just things that was going on in my mind. And what I had to do to make myself, just go through it. But like Auntie Genoa was saying, you live. And I was determined to do that. I wasn't, that's why I hid all of my, because no one's gonna know that I'm crying, and I'm strong, so no one's gonna know that. So the hiding was my thing.
Who taught you that?
Yeah.
Who taught you that? The hiding. Who taught you that?
You know what? I don't know. I just hid because I was embarrassed. So for a child's perspective, being embarrassed because you don't have a mother.
Yeah.
I felt that as
that
well.
was something that I was for many years, even to my teens. I was, embarrassed by that, and everything that came with it. Like I said, the Mother's Day and when people, come and say, "Oh, you got a white flower," and then I'm like, oh.
That-
Right.
So
what,
it's like
what she's talking
they're like,
about, what she's talking about for our viewers that don't know, is when you go to church on Mother's Day, which most people do, like Easter, Christmas, and Mother's Day, right? the Christian trifecta. When you go on Mother's Day, everyone whose mother's still living, and I don't know who made this up. That was
Who made it up? It's horrible.
Right?
I stopped going to church on Mother's Day for that
Right.
reason.
You would stop going on Mother's Day for that reason, because what they would do, viewers,
Mhm.
is they would give the people whose mothers were still alive
A
a
red
red rose,
Mhm.
and then for us whose moms were gone, we got a white rose.
Well, they gave us carnations. We didn't even get roses, so
Flower, whatever the flower was, that's what you were getting. And then they had the nerve to just give you a carnation. They could have given you a rose. That would have made you feel better, or an orchid or something, like Billie Holiday. But no, she wore gardenias. That's right, gardenias. Yeah, that would have been nice too. They smell good, right? But no, it was that white flower, like the white flower of death. So, Auntie Wanda, you were saying that you also felt that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That
Just
kind of
like
low-level depression.
yeah.
You know what? I was right there, and I never knew that.
Yeah, the hiding part, because you're just going through the motions. People are pulling you into whatever they're doing, and you're following along, but you're feeling like crap on the inside. And I remember when I was in college and working at Macy's department store in the juniors department, which meant a lot in suburbia America. A lot of mothers and daughters would come in shopping for back to school and for Mother's Day and for proms and all those things. And I would be watching these interactions and helping them, because I'm the salesperson, right? So I'm helping them find all these beautiful clothes and watching the mother dote on the daughter, knowing that I can't have that experience because my mom's not here, trying to be with them and be happy. And I would have to disappear for a few minutes and go hide in the fitting room and do a quick cry out for a couple of minutes and come back out and pretend like all is okay. Okay, what are you buying? So the hiding factor was huge. And until you said that, Rosemary, I didn't get that that's what I was doing. I was hiding. Is the perfect way to describe it.
And didn't we say that at the beginning? We said that at the beginning that, it causes you to withdraw and to hide. And part of that, now I'm realizing as you two are speaking, is with that particular factor of losing a mom or a parent is the shame. And shame definitely makes you hide, right? Yeah. If you're ashamed of your shoes, you kind of tuck them under the table. If you're ashamed of, whatever's going on, you're hiding it. And if you are the shame, right, per se, then you're hiding yourself. Wow, that's really interesting. And it's what's really interesting is that the opposite of that is to come out. I mean, expose it. I feel this way. I'm not going to wear that black anymore. I'm going to wear bright colors. It is, I think Genoa said it earlier, or yeah, Genoa said it earlier. She was saying that, it's the joy. And that is even what the word of God says, is that is the oil of joy for mourning. That's the remedy for the mourning, the sadness, the grief, the brokenness, the heartache. It is that joy. And I know that Auntie Wanda, you've been very successful in finding people, that bring that joy. And then your children, bring the joy. And just so that really makes a big difference. I'm
I
gonna read.
want to say something really
Oh,
quick.
go ahead. I thought I was gonna read. Go ahead, girl.
Auntie Genoa, when she said, as a child, when she said, live your life, go for it. I remember as a young person, I heard it's like, what? You got your mother. What about me? And that's what I heard as a child. Now I'm secure with everything, so I don't think that. But that's the first memory. When she said that, I was like, that it made me think about how many times I was so bitter and wanting, bitter, a little bit bitter at God, and thinking He was in control and of the whole situation, and He caused it. And as a child, you just go through all of those different stages, but you don't know that you're going through it. Just like Auntie Wanda was saying, I didn't know that I was hiding. I didn't realize, and sometimes that goes through adults, and then you realize, wait a minute, I'm hiding. I didn't know until I was adult that I was hiding. I didn't know that. I mean,
you don't have the wherewithal as a child.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say that again. Say that again.
I didn't
that
know
last part
consciously. I didn't know it yet, but I, as I got older, of course, I was like, oh, because it becomes a way of life, in what you're doing in your life, when it's time to hide. I can't, I'm a visual. So, my story was, when I came back from the funeral with my mother when she passed away, and I remember the teacher, she was calling out, make sure you bring your parents and make sure you bring your mother and get a note from your mother. And she asked me, saying, okay, can you get a note from your mother? And I remember all of the kids, some of them asked, and then what I'm saying, how can she get a note? She got a ghost mother now,
What?
And
Wow.
I was like,
oh my God.
And the heart broke. My heart was broken, but because then I was like, I don't want to hear anything, because the tears, you couldn't control them. So, I didn't want to, I think that's when the hiding started. I just didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear anything that was going to hurt me or remind me of, her passing.
Right.
So, but I do remember as an adult, young adult, going through hiding, about things. Oh, I'm hiding this, I'm hiding that. I did do that. I remember.
Yeah, I get that. How old were you?
When she
passed?
Oh, 10.
10. And how old were you, Wanda?
I lost my dad at 6 and my mom at 15. And one of my older brothers at 16. It was like the nuclear family.
And how old was your brother then?
He was 25. He overdosed.
Okay, got it.
You know what? I wanted to say that I remember, like I said, I was bitter, because, everybody had their mother, and it seemed like it was skipping and holding hands down the street. And I was just like, but I remember just wanting, her to come back, because as a child, they said, okay, we're going to go to the wake. And I'm like, what? Wait, she's going to wake up? Is that what it is?
Oh my God. All the confusion.
Waiting for her to wake up. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, well, why didn't she wake up? Why did we even go to this thing? Because that's what I thought it was. So I said it's a difference when you're a child and then you're an adult, because you have to grow into your feelings. You have to grow into this thing that you put in your head, and then the misunderstandings and things that you really don't know.
Yeah. I think that aspect is the same, though, of kind of wanting to pinpoint where the person who passed where they are. Like, if I could just, I remember saying when my mother passed away, I was 25. I remember saying to myself and to others, if I could just know where she is, I'll be okay. I mean, I must have said that 100 times. If I could just know where she is, then I'll be okay. And I know that she went to heaven. I mean, I know that. But at the same time, you know, okay, but I don't have access, tangible access to where she is anymore. And there would be so many days I would pick up the phone and try to call. I mean, I don't know if you went through that, but I would like pick up the phone and try to call. And even with my father the other day, he's been gone since 2018. And I was sitting here feeling like sad about missing him. And I said, I just miss dad. Let me pick up the phone and call him. And he's not even there, but he's gone. So I wanted to read about grief and brokenness and how that associates itself with depression, right? So we will definitely have a part 2. And in part 2, I want to talk more about ways to come out of this. And for the people who are watching now, we're going to go into some of those ways so that you don't have to stay down here in this low place right now. But so it's Grief and Brokenness on page 153. And it says, my mother died when she was only 48 years old. She had breast cancer. She had raised her 5 children, gone back to school, achieved a degree in early childhood education, was the director of her own wildly successful after-school enrichment program, and soon became highly sought after as an expert in her field. Mom made more money than the doctors, lawyers, realtors, and other business professionals who eagerly brought their children to sit at her feet and benefit from my mom's extraordinary tutelage. She left a legacy of being a leader in her industry. Within 2 years of her, she left a legacy of being a leader in her industry. Within 2 years of her death, my oldest brother Keith died of a sudden heart attack. He was playing league softball, and while in the batter's box, ready to swing, he just fell down and didn't get up again. He was 35. I was devastated. My brother was my hero. I became a walking embodiment of grief. The deaths of my 2 main pillars, my mom and Keith, left me broken and dazed. The go-getter, goal digger in me left and was replaced by a paralyzed, bewildered shell.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize myself. And I didn't recognize the many signs of the deep, lingering grief and depression I was experiencing until one day I was visiting my father, who still lived in Oakland. He looked at me and asked, "Do you have any other clothes besides the color black?" His question stunned me. Had I only been wearing that one color? Back home, I stood in front of my closet and realized he was right. There was nothing but a sea of black. I mean, there's nothing wrong with black. Black is beautiful. But for someone who loves wearing bright, expressive colors, all black was a dramatic departure, a sign. So we're talking about looking at the signs, watching for the signs in people. And I don't know what made my father even ask me that. But it just occurred to him, like, look, and they used to call me Missy. My brothers and sisters still do sometimes. Like, Missy, why are you wearing all black? That's not who we know you to be. Why can't we get a hold of you? Why aren't you answering your phone? Why aren't you coming to the family events anymore? Why? And there's, again, this goes back to that conversation about when it's village business, when it's family business. And in my opinion, and you may agree or disagree, but in my opinion, when I see somebody in despair like that, I'm going to ask. They can get mad. They can not want to talk to me anymore. They can block me on the phone. They can do whatever they feel like they want to do, but they're not going to die on my watch.
Amen.
And when I say die, I don't necessarily mean a physical death. People die in a lot of ways. I have someone now in my life who sits the majority of her life in the back room of a shotgun house, right? And has all this stuff around her. It's not dirty, junky, funky, nasty. It's just a bunch of stuff. Shoes, clothes, bags, buy, consume, consume, consume. And all of that stuff is like an insulation around her to guard against the pain, to guard against further heartache. We know it's a false guardianship. We know that it's a false comfort. But at the same time, I recognize that. So I went and I sat in that with her. Usually I would just stand on the side and talk, into the room. But the last time I saw her, I went in and I sat in it right next to her to see what she sees, to feel what she's feeling, to know what she knows, to understand what this positioning was all about. And as a result, we had a conversation. I'm not just going to watch something like that happen to somebody that I love. We say we love each other. Well, love is an action word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love does something about it. Love doesn't just say, "Oh, girl, I'll pray for you." Wait, can I share a secret with you? The majority of people who say that
They ain't praying.
we get that prayer. And the majority of people who say that don't even know how to pray a proper prayer to pull you out of a situation like that. And that's okay. Because you got me. I'm just kidding. But I'm saying that, but if you need a prayer, I will pray for you. But I'm saying that it's the joy. It's the bringing the hope, because at the end of the day, I said, I'm going to come in here and help you figure this out. Right. And got my little notepad, my pen, and we start figuring it out. And by the end of that conversation, it wasn't that not a single item moved, not a single item. But what moved was her thoughts and her ability to grasp hope. Right? Yes, love is an action word, viewer. Love is an action word. And what the problem is, okay, I won't say the problem. It's not a problem. I will say one challenge that I recognize in our culture right now is that people are so afraid to just ask the questions. They're afraid of rejection, abandonment, shame. What? I don't know. You tell me, because I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to ask anybody anything. All they can say is, "Shut up and get out of my business. Don't ask me that." Okay, I can take that. I'm a big girl. I can take that. But what I can't take is if I'm exposed to a situation, there's a reason, right? And sometimes I'll act on what I see. That comes down to discernment. But I want to ask you ladies, I want to be quiet and ask you ladies, is there anyone like that in your life where you have had to approach because you were just concerned, deeply concerned about where that person is? And has that person ever been you and somebody had to come pull you out? I can raise my hand on that. Somebody had to come get me. So it's kind of paying it forward. So anybody can speak up on it.
I think that's awful funny that you said that. I remember, because I just told you that I was depressed, and I told the Lord, "This is all you got. You can take me now." I remember I was at the park in my hometown because I'm from Michigan, and I was just distraught. I was crying, walking, all this other stuff. I think the children were with their father and everything. And why God sent somebody that I looked up to, that I respected, to come and find me in the park. I mean, I'm on purpose. It wasn't no accident. And in that moment, it showed me that God really is concerned about about the things that bother us, the things that upset us. And then he didn't just send anybody. He sent somebody that I looked up to and cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And but they came and they came and found me. And I was like, and it because it wasn't them, it was him.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's just looking at the things of my life in the ways that God is always showing Himself to me, and then being able to see it and know it for what it is. And it's crazy because I always, when I see people, I try to encourage them because I didn't have encouragement that I would receive, because encouragement, people can encourage you, but it's more effective when it's somebody that you care about, that you look up to, that when that it's the person speaking into your life matters. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm just gonna say it like that. The
Yeah.
person that's speaking into your life matters. A whole bunch of people that you don't know and don't care about say, "Oh, this is so awesome," and blah 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 blah. And you ought to,
And somebody who you love, I heard you say, but it's also somebody who loves you.
and that you look up to and
Respect.
respect. They have honor. They're not just no regular old ratchet person. You know, the ones that pray them ceiling prayer. I pray for you. The nickel worth of nothing. I'm like, where the prayers going? I'm just being honest, because I have a lot of people that
I'm gonna pray for you, girl.
yeah. And when somebody tell me to ask me to pray for them, I pray right then and there. Then I don't have to worry about it. Hey, yes, we can pray right now. And so that's where I'm at.
I'm sorry, regular old ratchet person had me.
Because that's well, depression, a lot of people, when they describe depression, they describe it, I know I did, as darkness, right? And what does darkness do? Somebody says, say that, Auntie Genoa. We don't need the ratchet person trying to help us out. So that's darkness. And what does darkness do? Darkness covers your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And its intention is to keep you from seeing the hope
And the joy.
and the joy and the lightness of life, and anticipating what's next. Because really, we talked about connecting to your purpose, right? We didn't go into depth, but we talked about it in terms of what was our last topic we were talking about? We talked about boundaries, and we talked about
Dirty laundry, wasn't it?
dirty laundry, and we were talking about basically finding your purpose, knowing your mission, understanding what you're here for, right?
Okay.
That helps too, to keep you anchored. But even with that, when the depression comes, like I said, sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. It'll come out of, like Rose was talking about earlier, a memory. You know, it could come from a photo. It could come from anywhere. And particularly during certain seasons like this one, where, it could literally come from seeing somebody else's post who looks like, oh, they're just having the best time of their life. And remember, I told you that was kind of artificial turf. The grass is greener on the other side, but just come over and water your own. It'll grow. Trust me, it will. But I wanted to move kind of into, what do you do when you find yourself in those spaces? I know prayer is number one for all of us on here, I think. Like, just really, having a talk, have a little talk with Jesus, or, sit down and really reflect and just get your Bible, your journal, whatever. I know that's one way. But for people who are just kind of moving into that area, they may not even have that relationship with God or whatever. What are some things that they can do to kind of bring themselves out of depression?
You know what? Let me just say something really quickly. I was directing a play called Here's to Life, and it's all women. And just by coincidence, because when I give of myself, I peel off the layers so other actors can feel comfortable to do that. So there's no holding back when it's time to bring that crying scene or whatever scene that needs that passion. So I revealed that I lost my mother, and then one by one, every woman in there, it was six of us had lost their mother one way or another. And I remember one of the young ladies was talking about, I would have never said this, because her mother got killed, just murdered, and we just kind of poured into each other. We related to each other. It was like a group. It was like a group therapy type of session, because we was able to, amongst the same issues, the same hurts, the same different things that you're going through, we could just get out all of the things, because you know what I'm talking about. You know how it feels. You was hurting just like I was. So that's what I did. And I noticed that we all got a sense of liftment. We was lifted, and we could relate to each other. It was just awesome. It was awesome. So I'm thinking same settings, and just to pour out, and you feel good about
it. It sounds like it was cathartic
that.
For all
That
of
can
you.
help.
It sounds like it was cathartic for all of you. And so what I want to point out is something that's so powerful, what you just said. First of all, let me just say that play, baby, Michael and I still talk about that play. We still talk. It was amazing. Rosemary is a prolific writer, director, creative, all around talent. And this was a stage play that she put on. But what I wanted to point out was the power and the beauty of what you did. And it was so simple. You just spoke it. And that what that does is it gives everyone else an open door to do the same. And then you recognize that you all connected in that way, and you would have never known. And it brought such a richness to the work that you were doing as well. And I never knew that you had that conversation, but in hindsight, I get that added another layer of richness to the work that we felt in the audience. You see? So just talking to somebody who's not ratchet. But seriously, that's like one of the number one ways that you break through it, is by talking, but not to someone who doesn't get it, but someone who you love and or respect and honor, as you were saying, Auntie Genoa. And then Rose, you took that. It took courage. It took courage to do what you did, especially because that was something that you had not completely worked through yourself yet, but how powerful is that? I can't say enough about that. So talk.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was it. I just wanted to say talking is one way.
Yeah. I just want to add to that. One of the things that's also very helpful is just to remember that the person that is departed does not want you to walk around in permanent.
So good, Wanda. So good. I'll never forget the day I remembered that about my mother.
Yeah, and I'll never forget the day that someone had to remind me. They're like, "Why are you so sad?" It's been they were saying 15 years was too long to be grieving or whatever, and they wanted to know why you said so sad. I'm like, "She's not here. I can't talk to her." And he goes, "I understand that, but do you think that she would have wanted you to spend 15 years doing this?" And I almost fainted when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
because it's so true. Your people want to know that you love them, yes, but do they want you to walk around in grief for the
No,
rest of your life? No.
no.
They do not. They want you to have reverence for the relationship. They want you to remember them, but they do not want you to grieve them for the rest of your life. And I think just having that knowing
Mhm.
will make room for the healing to occur.
I
Right.
think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah. And also nature, praying, the Bible, knowing that fact that they want you to be happy and not in grief. And nature is a beautiful teacher and soother
It
as well.
is.
Yeah.
It is. Do you know that there's a film on Netflix right now? It's called Forest Bath or Forest Bathing.
Hmm.
And all they do is take a camera and they kind of run the camera through the redwoods in thank you. They run the camera. They just let it go through the redwoods and they show you the view and they show you the bark and they show you the paths and they show you the sunshine and they've got the music underneath. And you're right, like we come from nature. So and that's one of the things too I had on my list, as a remedy is definitely talking makes all the difference. Get verbalizing brings it up and out. Walking, because what happens is the depression will numb you. It's like a petrification. That's why you just want to go somewhere and lay down. It feels like you can't move. And that's why it's good, like you said, get out in nature, go for a walk, go for a hike. I know you do that often, going out with the girls and, just taking a walk. And what it does is it begins to, it's what do you call that? It's you begin to get an epiphany about what's happening because your body is in motion. Now it's connecting with your mind, body, spirit, soul, right? Now you're reconnecting all the circuitry. It
Yeah.
just makes a huge difference.
And touching it too, not just like walking on it and
Yes,
whatever,
touching the
but the
trees.
barefoot walks and the beaches and the water and the
Mhm.
ocean. Well, not everybody lives near an ocean, but the water at the beaches.
I love the ocean. It's my friend.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing in nature. Yeah. So, um, talking to someone you respect and honor and who loves you and is willing to just hear you speak. We have a number going across our ticker at the bottom that says call or text 988. Now, I can't vouch for 988 because I've never called 988, but it is a new number that works like 911. If you have an emergency and you feel like you might hurt yourself or someone else, or you're just down, depressed, and heavy during the holiday season, you can call that number and get some help. And there's also the National Suicide Hotline, which I have listed in my book, and I believe that our producer is going to put up in just a moment. The last thing that really helped me when I was going through um, the depression and it was really more grief, but definitely the depression followed the grief. That was a stage. One of the things I did is, first of all, I started reversing that black in my closet. Like, get out of here. I just need a black skirt and some black boots. The rest of it has to go. But I started getting my colors back. And also, I found someone, you talk about that, I love, respect, and honor. There was a really old woman in Oakland. Her name was Ruth. And she was the secretary at my school when I was in elementary school. And then as an adult, after my mom had passed, I was 25, right? So this woman was old when we were in elementary school. So she was really old by the time my mom had passed, but just had a deep respect for my mother. My mother was very active in the community, and at the school board and everywhere. And so a lot of people knew her and knew her well. She was always fighting for some cause. So this woman knew my mom. She knew she had passed away, and she was a masseuse. And so I asked her if I could just come and get a massage. And she said, Paige, I really don't do that anymore. But because it's you, yes, I'll do it. Now, mind you, this woman was strong. Like, she would ride a bike everywhere. I never saw her drive a day in her life. Like, she would ride to school, ride back, ride to get her groceries. She just had a bike. She didn't even have a car. And so she was strong. And she set up her massage room for me, and I went in, and she massaged my body. And I'll tell you what, that woman massaged my soul because I just cried. I mean, like a boo hoo wailing from the bottom of my being, my very existence cry. And I mean, I cried through the whole massage because it's again that kinetic movement, that getting in touch, literally in touch. Like the talking, she was talking with her hands, and I love you and I feel it and I know, and it was just coming up and out. So there's something about the coming up and out, and it doesn't have to come through massage. It can come through prayer if the person knows what they're doing. It can come through any number of methods in terms of somebody really connecting and feeling and knowing what you're going through. That's the thing. We're born for human connection. We're
Right.
born as social beings. And
Right.
when depression hits, depression causes us to withdraw and to not want to be around anyone. That's why sometimes we have to reach in when we notice these signs in others, because they won't reach out. They just won't. So I was just blessed that I had that person to help me through that. And I promise you, after that, my life started moving to a whole nother level. I mean, I went back to acting and singing and dancing and writing and just all the things that I kind of put away. I started doing again. So we're about to wrap up this show. But before I do, I want to, as always, give each of you an opportunity for closure, to have some closing remarks, and anything that's come up for you or that you just want to leave with our audience. Please do so.
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
I just, to free yourself of, it's like peeling back the onions, like I said earlier. If you can free yourself to be able to be totally free and just, it's almost like throwing up, and just getting it out and just letting it just get out of you so that you can move forward. There's other ways, of course, but for me, it was talking it out. It was directing. It was my passion that I love to do, which is the arts, acting, directing. And I just immersed myself in that, and I just gave of myself. And in return, people felt that, and they began to talk. And so I'm saying, just give of yourself, somebody to trust, of course, and things will get better.
Very good. I love that. That is like the number one remedy. You're right. Talking it out. Auntie Wanda, Auntie Genoa?
I would say talk to God, touch your heart, physically touch your heart with your hand, and get out in nature and do more talking to God as you're in nature.
I love that. That definitely works.
And
And
for
Auntie
me,
Genoa?
don't let anybody tell you who you are. You be your authentic self. And even if you do respect and honor them, the only person know who you really are and how you really feel outside beside yourself is God. So him and you should be the final authority in your life.
I really love that. And again, I would say the three for me is the talking, the walking, and the getting in touch with your body. For dancers, it may be just go rent a studio, or go to a recreation center where they have a wooden floor and a mirror and a bar or something, whatever that is. Or you might even just go out with some friends and do some kind of line dance. I mean, just it's getting in touch, but most of all, it's remembering that at our essence we are joy. At our essence we are love. At our essence is the things that depression tries to hide. Remember, darkness. It's trying to hide the hope. Got to find somebody that can give you some hope, inject some hope. And the most hopeful person that I know is God. So on that note, thank you for joining us. I see all the wonderful comments. We love being with y'all too. We really do. And we love you all so much that after we close this, we're going to do another show because we need to tape it for next week because I will be in Hawaii for my 25th wedding anniversary.
Yay.
Woo! You talk about some walking and talking, and I won't talk about the rest. But anyway, we'll be right there at the ocean. So, very excited to have our producer be with you next week to bring you and present whatever we do in just the next few minutes. But we will be back the day after Christmas, the 25th of December. So happy holidays to you. If you are feeling in a state of depression, you're so welcome. Mwah. If you're feeling in a state of depression or you feel like you might go there, if you typically go into that space during the holidays, don't do it this holiday season. Just don't do it. Don't allow it. Don't allow depression to overtake you. Don't allow depression to take you down into that dark space. Don't go crawl up in the bed. Go put on something colorful. You know what? You can't even be depressed when you sing a happy song.
Nope.
You can't. Sing a song. Do something just to break yourself out of it. Break yourself out of that pattern. Call a friend. Call the number. Call a suicide prevention hotline. Do whatever you need to do in order to make that change this holiday season. We love you. We are your aunties. And you can tell us, what lady?
You can tell us anything,
But there's a
way to say everything.
like everything.
And I have an announcement to make. If you have the print book, I really appreciate that you bought the book, and I hope you're enjoying it. And if there's anything that I can answer for you, please, thank you. Please, ask your questions. That's what we're here for. But today, I found out that my book is now up on audible.com.
Yay.
That was a long journey, y'all. Oh, was it long? It took me 2 years from the beginning, from the first word that I uttered to getting it up today on Audible. It took 2 years. It was a struggle. You know, it's just like, it's as if something doesn't want this work to be exposed or something.
Look, imagine that.
I can read the book to you. So go on Audible and get my book so I can read it to you. Thank you, viewers. All right. And with that, if you would go ahead, DY, and put up the last card. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.